today's episode of Reverb from the Heart. My name is Shamikia Williams. I like to go by Trudy. And today we're going to be exploring the world of sound therapy. So excited about it, which is a practice which is a practice that uses sound vibration to promote healing and wellness for the mind, body, and the soul. I don't like when we forget to add the soul in there, because that's
Mhm.
very important. And joining us today is Jen, who is a skilled, and I mean that, licensed therapist and certified energy and sound healer, and also a Reiki practitioner who will be sharing her insight and experiences with us. Thank you so much for being here, Jen. How's it going?
Of course, it is going well. It's a Sunday, and like I was talking to you before, excited that Beyonce is going on tour again. Especially, with the way that things are going on in the world right now. Like we need like some positive energy. So I'm really excited because the Renaissance tour was like everything. Like everything, like just the energy there. Like I felt like after I left there, like I could accomplish anything. So I'm really, really, really excited about that, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I didn't get to attend. I was in Colombia at the time.
Mm,
Wanted to, but hopefully next time I
gotta
can be
go.
able
You gotta
to.
go. I'm trying to tell you, you gotta
But
go.
no, I do agree that Beyonce has a thing about her. Like there's one album that I listen to all the time, which is
Which one?
the the one with Lion King, but it's not the recent Lion
The
King. I think
Gift, yeah, that's one of
The
my
Gift.
favorites, and I feel like a lot of people don't give that album the credit that
Really?
that album they don't I've seen this on TikTok like many many times before, where people are just like, and even with the Beehive, like I feel like people don't put that album like where it
Um,
should be on like her top albums. So yeah,
really? I'm
I
kind of
don't know.
surprised.
I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's just that, especially with our community, the Black community, they are scared to tap into that Blackness. But
Mm,
like just the visuals alone, like
yeah.
it, it just did something to me. Like and that was a part of like me like learning about African spirituality
Mhm.
and tapping into that when I saw the visuals for
Mhm.
the Gift.
Mhm.
So yeah, like it gets played m- numerous times in my household for sure.
Yeah, it's such a, I don't know. I Whenever I listen to that album, I cry. Because
Mm,
there's just something, it's like the call of the spirit, the call of
hmm.
collaboration, community. It's so much in it.
And
So
finding your way
you
back.
find your way back. And
Yes,
it makes me, I don't know, it makes me want to dance in compare, like I know, but that's my type of music though. So
me
but
too.
I have it as a worship album.
Mm.
So yeah, I always favor it. But obviously you're a bigger fan than I, Jen. So before we get started into anything, let's start with you. Let's start with your journey. Like, what led you to becoming a sound healer, and how has it influenced your life?
Awesome question. So I started my journey with therapy, and I like to call therapy your healing journey. So I
Mhm.
started my healing journey in 2017. At that time, I was grieving the loss of my mom, and then also at the time, my family was going through a rough time with pretty much like a court case that involved me and my other cousins, where a family member molested us.
Mhm.
So with going through that, that started my healing journey through therapy. And of course, when you talk to your therapist, you don't always start like right there. A lot of times they're like, okay, let's rewind and, talk about your childhood and kind of what got us to this point. So it's with talking to her, I, discovered that I had dysthymia, which is kind of like persistent depression over a long period of time. And, that was evident in my self-esteem, the choices that I made, and just a long, journey with having depression and anxiety, and probably a little bit of PTSD too. So of course, with, talk therapy, to an extent, in the beginning, I feel like it was beneficial, but I just felt like I wasn't mood wise, I just wasn't feeling better. So then my therapist recommended medication. I took antidepressants and anxiety medication for, I want to say, 3 years. Yeah, 3 years. And then after a while, I just felt like that wasn't working either. I felt like it was just kind of making me numb in a sense. And I just felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. So my therapist then suggested Reiki healing. And Reiki healing is very good for those who, are experiencing depression, anxiety, have experienced trauma, those who may also be having some issues with spirituality as well. So I tried it. I started that 2020, right before the pandemic. And I feel like once I tried that for the first time, it kind of it was a release for me that I didn't get with the talk therapy and taking medication. And I just felt like it just unlocked a lot. And, that's kind of what it is with Reiki healing. It unlock those energy centers that were blocked for so long for me, and I finally started to feel free. I finally started to see the world differently and see how I'm pretty much in control of my thoughts, my feelings, and everything that comes with that.
Yeah.
So that kind of opened the door to that, for the Reiki healing. But as far as like with sound and energy healing, I was introduced to that by taking a couples Thai massage and sound bath session with my partner. So it started off with the Thai massage, and pretty much Thai massage, it's called lazy man's yoga. So instead of you doing, the different yoga positions, it's kind of like the practitioner is like moving your body to stretch a certain way. And it's amazing. If nobody has tried it, please try it. Like I actually last week I was like, yeah, it's about time for me to open up. So it starts with a Thai massage, and then after that was the sound bath. So with a sound healing session, you may hear sound bath, you may hear sound healing session. It's all the same.
Okay.
So in the sound healing session, when I tell you, like, I felt like I was floating in another galaxy. I was like, man, like, this is great. Like, what is this? So afterwards, like, I started talking to the practitioner. Well, it was two practitioners there, one for myself and my partner. So I started talking with them. I'm like really interested in it. And like, yeah, we have the energy healing certification, and we have the Reiki certification. So I did the energy healing certification first, and then I did Reiki. So that's pretty much how I got started with it. And once I got started, I incorporate sound healing in my every day to day. Usually
Mm,
before bed, like I'm putting on healing frequencies.
yeah.
Even my dog, like he likes it. Like even when I play, like he's around, and
Yeah.
it's definitely something that is very powerful. And then once you start to understand, sound healing and energy healing, um, it's something that you kind of look for in your music and what you listen to as well. Because I know there are certain artists, um, like Janae Aiko,
Mhm.
who's another person? Starts with the L. I can't think of the name right now. Starts with the L. I know Erica Badu, she incorporates a lot of healing frequencies in her music. So once you get a sense of, okay, like what it is and how it makes you feel, a lot of times you seek that out in music. And I'm pretty sure Beyonce has the same thing in her music too.
Mhm.
It like it just gives you a certain feeling, and you can tell the difference when somebody is intentional and has that in their music versus somebody that you can tell like they're trying to get you at a lower frequency, and it doesn't feel as
Ah.
so. That's why like some music, like I just can't listen to because it does nothing for me. So with music, like I'm very intentional with what I listen to. So it's just some artists like it's never
Like
it's
who?
never gonna be me. Yeah. So
Like who then? You know?
um I feel like Rod Wave is somebody like I just can't get with.
You think like the sound and the vibration of the sound kinda brings
It might be that. It might be where he is energetically, because I feel like from
Mm,
what I understand, he also battles with depression and suicidal thoughts too.
okay.
I can't think of anybody else in
That's
particular.
cool. That's a cool idea. That's a
Yeah.
cool thought. I really like how you talk about your journey and the reason behind you being projected into this environment. And you touched on talk therapy, but like I also know talk therapy can only expose and unlock so much
Hmm.
because that's just one part of us as a being. There's so many parts of us. And so it's really cool that you then tap into Reiki, which you said gave you a feeling that you've never felt before, which
Hmm.
I'm very interested to figure that out and experience that. If you know somebody that you can recommend, that would be nice. Uh,
Absolutely. But you got to come back to the States
I
though.
gotta come back to the States, which
But it would not surprise me. Like, where are you right now?
I'm in Argentina right now.
I'm pretty sure it's somebody there that's
I'm
doing
pretty sure
type of
too, but the
practice.
thing is that it's the language, you know? I wanna make
Oh
sure that
yeah.
if I'm sitting down and somebody is doing that work on me, that they can also sit down and help me to understand what type of work they just
Mhm.
did. Because otherwise I can feel it in my body, but I don't understand what it even means or what they saw, what they felt.
Right. Understandable.
So it's really cool that like your relationship with it is very significant, and you understand that medication is also something. You use the word numb, and I've heard that a lot from people when talking about using the medication and wanting to come off of it because it takes away their personality and their characteristic and their
Mhm.
being, and their essence. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. And I think also another part of that made me like, okay, like I'm done. So I had gone out of town. Yeah, I had gone out of town and I actually forgot to take my medication with me. And like when it comes to antidepressants, like when you don't have it, it's almost like you're having the same symptoms of withdrawal. So I think
Mhm.
it was maybe like 3 days, and like I I took it was like a 6 hour drive. That whole drive, like I was so nauseous. And by the time I got home, like I was vomiting, like
Wow.
I had what is it called? Vertigo. And I was like, I'm done. Like
Mm.
I don't want anything in my body that when I don't have it, it makes me feel like that. Like
Yeah.
it was the worst feeling in the world. And they pretty much tell you that like when you don't have it, like those are the symptoms that you get. So after that, I talked to my nurse practitioner, and she pretty much came up with a plan because you can't go cold turkey when you're trying to get off of medication. They pretty much you have to take less and less amounts at a time, and then be completely done. So yeah, after that experience with getting that sick, I was like, yeah, it's time for me to be done with it.
Yeah. Actually, I'm not kinda. I am glad that you touched on that because I don't know if a lot of people realize that there's that significant aspect when you're trying to come off even a prescribed medication
Mhm. Mhm.
and how that can interrupt a person's, day-to-day life too. If
Mhm.
it's, a lot of people associate withdrawals to someone who's addicted to something.
Mhm.
So I'm glad you talked about that. I appreciate that, Jen.
Course, of
Yeah.
course. If I can help somebody, like please, like if and I feel like when it comes to medication, I feel like it's a short-term thing. And then once you feel like you have a grasp of, the coping skills that your therapist teaches you and other modalities, I feel
Mhm.
like after a while you can stop taking it if you're comfortable, and then just have that conversation with whoever is prescribing the medication. But
Yeah.
I don't think a person should be on depression medication for
Years.
the rest of their life.
Yeah. I don't think so either because but I also understand like it's so is it difficult for people to be able to develop the skills necessary because of the environment and the rush or the rapid experiences of hard difficult emotions, difficult mental processing with very limited support? Because I think it's starting to sound like a lot more people are being prescribed these medication. However, they're not seeing a therapist consistently to develop the
Mhm.
skills. So
Mhm.
that's my thought on that. I don't know if you have a
Yeah.
different opinion.
No, I agree 100%.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah. So that's it. I think we really need people to get into I sigh because I know people need to do this stuff, but I also
Yeah.
know that society and the design of things is also working against that
Mhm.
ability and opportunity. And so they're overcapacitated. Is that a word? They're
No.
working over capacity. They're working over capacity to what they naturally are capable of doing. And so they just like grab onto whatever they can. So
Yeah.
you know. Okay, so Jen,
Mhm.
for those who are new to the concept, because there might be people who aren't familiar with sound healing or sound therapy, what exactly is it and how does it work to support healing?
Right. So, sound and energy healing, because our bodies are made up of water, and then water conducts sound. The body is definitely a awesome resonator for sound. So sound resonates 4 times faster than water. And these vibrations or frequencies, they travel through the body, and they help remove energetic blockages. So when that happens, you're pretty much healing, physical ailments, you're healing emotional, mental, and spiritual ailments. So anytime you have a blockage or a imbalance, it creates some type of dis-ease or disease in the body. So when you incorporate energy and sound, it helps to relieve that. And that's pretty much how it works. Everything is energy, and I feel like once you understand that everything is energy, you'll pretty much have a good grasp of, okay, this is what I need to do, because I'm feeling this way. I have this headache, or this is what I need to do because I'm constipated. You
Mhm.
know, all of
Wait,
those things.
wait, hold on a second. Wait a second. Are you saying, Jen, are you saying that there's a particular sound that can also support constipation in the
Mhm.
body?
Yep. So when it comes to constipation, that could be your either your okay. So there's seven main chakras. Of course, there's a lot more than that, but the seven main ones that you'll normally hear are your root, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat chakra, third eye, and your crown chakra. So when it
Mhm.
comes to constipation or anything having to do with digestion, that is more than likely going to be your solar plexus, so your third one that has some type of imbalance. So when it comes to the solar plexus chakra, all the chakras have a certain note and frequency that correlates with it.
Mhm.
So when it comes to that particular chakra, when it comes to your digestive health, a lot of times with each chakra, there are certain herbs and foods that you can eat to heal that. So that is why, when you have stomach issues, they say incorporate ginger, incorporate lemon, um, and there's other ones that I can't think of off the top of my head, but most of the time you're going to hear ginger and lemon when
Yeah,
it comes to
yeah.
that. So and with every imbalance, when it comes to the chakra system, there is a natural remedy that can definitely help with it. And you can also incorporate sound with it as well. So that's why usually your mind blow right now.
So
Yeah.
I'm so mindful, yeah.
So that's why usually, and whenever you have a sound or energy healing session, you usually talk to the person about, like what is their intention with that session, so that the practitioner can have an idea of what areas to focus on. So, usually when I because I do Reiki, and my Reiki practitioner also incorporates sound.
Uh-huh.
Shout out to Dr. Corbin.
Shout out.
So usually in the beginning, like, we talk about, what my intentions are. We'll talk about, any type of, physical ailments that I might be experiencing at one time. Like, I know, like, for example, like at one point in time I was telling her, and she's also a herbalist as well. So at one point in time, I was telling her, like, I just had like these like really really bad headaches, and
Mhm.
after talking with her, she was like, yeah, it was my headaches, and she was like, I also want you to check your blood pressure too. And at that time, my blood pressure was really high, so she pretty much told me, okay, you need to stop eating like the processed foods for lunch. So I moved away from that. She also told me to start drinking hibiscus tea, because hibiscus is very good for heart health as well as your blood pressure.
Yes.
So during that session, majority of the time, she pretty much focused on my crown chakra, which is the area where you have your headaches, and she also focused on my heart chakra, which is linked to heart health, blood pressure. Yeah.
Oh.
So everything, like when it comes to, sound and energy healing, it's intentional for
It
sure.
sounds very intentional, and I really like that because I wanna be a herbalist so bad.
Do it.
I wanna be a
Telling
herbalist.
you. Yeah, it's so needed. And a lot of people, I feel like, are moving into Western healing modalities because they see how, when it comes to, our overall health in America, like, taking a pill is not,
Mm,
going to cure the problem. It's only going
no.
to help with whatever symptom. So
Mm.
you need something that's going to actually help cure the actual problem.
Yeah, but
Right.
also like you mentioned,
Mhm.
sometimes these pills that they may prescribe can also make a person's life more difficult, you
Yep,
know,
and
like
have more side effects. That's why when you see a commercial, most of the time, majority of the commercial is all the side effects with that medication. So by the time the commercial's over, like, dang, like I don't even want to take that because all of these possible side effects, like, yeah. Mm-mm.
Exactly, so it's kinda like, there's this huge migration away from herbal plants, plant
Mm-mm.
medicine. There's
Mm-mm.
been a huge migration, especially in the West, and more so like instant. Very a lot of things is quite instant, and so it's like take this pill and then you'll be fine. And I think some people, their mindset is really just like, if I take this pill, I'll be okay. And sometimes it's almost like preying on a group of people that really need support. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
so I really like that. Your person, I don't remember. I think you mentioned her
Dr.
name,
Corbin.
Dr. Corbin. I
Hmm.
really like how
Yep.
I really like how she doesn't just work on you using the sound, but she also tapped into the herbs that can support also
Mhm.
um no the healing process. And while you were talking about sound and how everything is vibration, how our body is water, I can't help but imagine how the ocean moves and the waves. And I was just like, is that how it's moving in our bodies?
It is that's how it sounds to me, and that's why, like, once I learned about that, I was like, "Oh, so that's why when it's a full moon, some people go crazy." Like, it
Ah,
makes sense. Like,
it's so
it
true.
makes so much
It's so true. So it's really cool to sometimes I think I forget that the body is water.
sense. Mhm. Majority
And
water at that.
yeah, because like when you think about what we eat throughout the day, when I think about what I eat throughout the day, I don't know if I'm eating to sustain or to make sure that water is consistently being replenished. Can I use
Mhm.
that word? Like
Mhm.
being replenished in my system. I should probably drink some more water. For those of you who are questioning at this point in the podcast if you should be hydrating more, we should be hydrating more. And if this is if you're having a hard time holding water in your body, add some salt, sea salt, Himalayan salt,
Mm.
and some lemon if necessary. So, have you ever come across people who are skeptical or hesitant towards sound healing?
Um, not me personally. Like, I've definitely seen some people, voice their opinions about it or say that type of modality is demonic. But a lot of times, especially in our society, when it's not our norm or we don't know about it, we're quick to throw that label on something.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't say like personally. But for those who, are kind of skeptical about it, like, you can definitely use like my testimony and how, it's helped me.
Mhm.
Um, and, you know, you, in a sense, like you kind of go through that, do your day to day anyway. Like when you're listening to music, especially, when you listen to gospel music, 9 times out of 10, you are going to feel a lot better. You're going to feel a lot motivated.
Mhm.
Um, there's some, especially when it comes to worship music, sometimes that can make us feel more emotional and have some type of release to our feelings, crying, because crying is a type of release. So that's why, and I feel like we talked about this before, where when it comes to a church service, just start
Mhm.
paying attention to the music, because at the beginning of church service, you're gonna have your fast, upbeat songs that are, gonna get you hyped.
Mhm.
Yeah, woo,
Mhm.
God, Jesus,
Mhm.
yeah. And then at some point you're going to move to the worship music, which a
Yeah.
lot of times, that's when, you have people um in that posture of worship. It's more emotional, and a lot of times that music is put in the service like right before the
Yeah.
sermon
Mhm.
or after the sermon. So all of it, it's intentional. Like you're not
Oh.
going to start the service automatically in worship, and no, it doesn't go that
Yeah.
way. That's why during the offering music, it's going to be more upbeat to get you hyped
Yeah,
to,
to get to get
to give your money. So all of it it's intentional.
it,
And the same way that, you, let's say you just broke up with, your significant other,
mhm.
9 times out of 10, the music is going to be, it's gonna be either it's gonna get you angry or
Uh-huh.
it's gonna make you upset.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's the same thing.
Ah.
It's the same thing.
It just makes me think about how we all do that. Like in a breakup, I like to listen to sad music though. I like to listen to Adele. I like to listen to music that really makes me feel
Mhm.
that makes me feel like they why did they do this to me? Why me? You
Listen,
know,
and
and
I'm the
so
opposite. Like I want to like put on something like a song that this is in my mind right now is that song by Khalees. I hate you so much for that. Like that's what I want to listen to in the moment. Like yeah,
yeah, I do. I
yeah,
do hate you
yeah. Like,
so much.
or I'm putting on Beyonce. Sorry, like it. I'm not listening to anything sad. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I
Mm-mm.
don't know. Um, so it's quite interesting because I never thought that, like, I know there's some intentions behind it, but I didn't know that there's so much intention behind it.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like, okay, these are songs that I like to listen to depending on where I'm at. But I don't think that, oh, this is 550 hertz and I'm just gonna be listening. I don't think about that. So it really lets me see how wise the body is, and
Mhm.
wise, and how knowledgeable, and how in order to be able to grab for what it wants. It's almost like there's this unconscious behavior that's also taking place within my conscious state.
Mhm.
That's wild.
Sure. Yep.
So sometimes I just get stuck on because I think my brain is processing and it's like putting it in folders.
Mhm.
Because all I want to ask you actually is, do you think so there are a lot of musicians. I also wonder if poetry, people use the natural sound. I mean, they're all using their sound, but just their voices and the cadences in that voice, if that's
Mhm.
also a way that people use sound for healing, sound for transformation, and if they are aware of how intentional they're using that.
I never thought about that when it comes to poetry. But I'm sure it's definitely linked. Because it's the same thing with singing. When
Mm.
you are singing certain notes, or for some people, like there's a way for you to use humming certain notes that unlock a certain feeling and
Wow.
frequency as well. So that's why I'm pretty sure you've seen like where they're like so
Yeah.
that's more so like within your crown chakra, and that's why that's like the main one that you hear about when it comes to using your voice um to balance and unblock
Hey,
certain energy spaces. Yep.
okay, so right now, right now, Jen, I'm thinking about like people in relationships.
Mm.
And how, because you're saying obviously the sound creates influence, and by talking to somebody, the way that I speak can either encourage them or put them down, right?
Mhm.
um
Your tone of voice.
Tone of voice
Mm-hmm.
also sounds like, because tone of voice is also vibrational, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I see a lot of people come in and they're having a disagreement, and each time one person says something, the other person gets into a particular zone of energy, and then they kind of feed that back.
Yep, exactly. And that's why some people like, watch your tone, watch your tone. That because and that's why you're not supposed to, talk out of anger. You're supposed to make sure that you're in a space where you're more level, because a lot of times when we're angry, we say stuff that we don't mean. So like I said, energy is everything.
That's wild, because energy is in everything.
It's in everything too. Yep.
Because that's wild that somebody, like, not, I mean, it makes sense to me that somebody can walk up to me, use a particular tone, using using their own voice, and activate a particular emotion within me.
Yep. Yep.
So on a greater scale, there's like sound, instruments,
Mm-hmm.
music. And I guess I'm trying to put it on a spectrum
Mm-hmm.
for my worldly mind to comprehend. And so on a lower on a lower scale, but just as effective, is just a person's sound of voice and their
Mm-hmm.
tone of voice
Yep.
that can stir up any type of a particular energy. And a lot of us are weaponizing this without even recognizing its
Mm-hmm.
power.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so with that being said, Jen, how do low and high frequency affects us differently?
So lower frequencies, they tap into our negative emotions. So especially when it comes to anger, um, a lower frequency feeling, being sad, those type of things. So of course that's why you hear, you want to vibrate higher, you want to high vibrational.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you want to make sure that the higher that you vibrate, the better that you feel. The lower that you vibrate, the worse that you feel.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so all of that is correlated.
Mm.
I,
So I'm thinking that if I'm feeling low, using sad and using the example, like if I got when I would get broken up with, um, my energy was sad, which is low. So I pull in more sad stuff.
mm-hmm.
I'm
You
like, I want to be sad forever. And so, okay, so it seems like based off the whatever vibration I'm on, I'm gonna seek it out, maybe to compliment me, compliment where I'm at, or I can seek it out to find something that increases my vibration to something that's more relaxed, more happier,
Mhm.
content. Okay.
So
Wow.
that's why it's important to be aware of how you're feeling, because like we were talking about earlier, if you're already sad and you're listening to sad music, it's not going to do anything
First
for
of all, stop it, Jen. We've said enough about my sadness.
you. Well, in general, in
Kidding.
general. So, you want to, and I tell my students this all the time, especially my students who are dealing with depression, especially those who, are self-harming. I'm like, what do you like to listen to? And they tell me, and I'm like, okay. And sometimes I don't know who it is. So I'm like, okay, so what are they talking about in the song? And
Yeah.
they'll tell me, I'm like, you shouldn't be listening to that. So, just being aware, okay, like certain things, when you're in a certain mood, like you,
Wow, Jen, you just gave me some insight because not once, and I don't know if I should feel any type of way, but I don't. Not once have I thought to ask my clients, what kind of music are you listening to?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm going to incorporate that moving forward because it sounds like sound can continue to recreate and keep you in a cycle of
Yep.
whatever experience, whatever emotions that you're having.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate that, Jen.
Of course. Of course.
So we're listening to, so it sounds like a lot of us are, are listening to low vibrational music. Question, would you say you said anger is a low vibrational energy,
Mm-hmm. A low vibrational emotion.
emotion?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Can anger be alchemized into something of high that is high vibrational? I don't know. I'm just asking
I
a
feel
random
like
question.
it depends on what you're angry about. Like, for example, like somebody can be angry about all of the stuff that's going on in the world right now, right? But
Uh-huh.
are you going to use that anger for your benefit and the benefit of others, or are you going to use that anger to um pretty much to make somebody else feel
Mm.
angry and make somebody else feel bad? It
Got
all
it.
depends on how you're using your anger because, like just thinking of, some of the things that, our country has been through, like the civil rights movement.
Hmm.
A lot of people were angry at that time, but some people use that anger to actually do something and to try to make things better. And then there
Hmm.
were other people that use their anger during that time to make things worse.
Mm.
It could go either way. It could go either way. Like I said, everything is all about intention. So
Ah,
if you're gonna use your anger to be intentional to do good, hey, I feel like you're better off doing that versus using your anger to be intentional to do bad.
mm. Thank you. That's actually, I really appreciate that answer.
hmm Because
So,
sometimes your anger is just a manifestation of your passion towards something. So, you know,
yeah.
it could go either way. It could go
I
either
love that because I think sometimes people think that I think I asked that question because sometimes people think that because they're angry they can only do harm with it. I don't
way.
think people realize that you can alchemize your the energy of anger and make it useful into something and create something beautiful out of that anger because what it is just a reminder that it is energy,
Mm-hmm.
and energy can be manipulated into whatever you want it to be, either harmful, either something favorable or something unfavorable, but it's your
Right.
decision and your will. But hopefully we're using our anger and alchemizing it into something favorable for the world and humanity and those around us.
Hopefully. Hopefully. And because when we were talking about this, I thought about this chart. Can I share stuff on here?
Yeah, I think so. It
Um,
says start share screen.
oh yeah. Because it made me think of this chart.
No,
So
first of all, just let me pause right now because what are you doing to me, Jen? No one's ever done that.
hey, I'm trying to educate
I
the
love
people,
it.
okay?
I
I'm
love
trying
it.
to I'm trying to, educate the people and help any way that I can. So this is a vibrational energy chart. So those lower vibrational energies like that we talk about, anger, you see where anger is, it's not as low. And that's
Mhm.
that's kind of why it makes sense to me why anger could go either way, depending on your intention and how you use it. So of course, the lower vibrational energies, shame, guilt,
Shame,
apathy. Yep.
shame, Jen. You know how many of us is going through shame every day.
girl, that's why we got to be aware of, okay,
Wow.
why are we feeling that way? Like what events or what have we been through that has allowed us to feel this?
Yeah.
And for some people, it could be just the shame of them being themselves, you know?
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but like when it comes to shame and guilt, especially when it comes to your lower chakras, so like your root, sacral, and solar plexus chakra, a lot of those chakras are oftentimes blocked because of guilt or
Yeah.
shame, and anger. So
Yeah.
it just all makes sense. But of course, when it comes to this, like when we get to those higher vibrational energies, the higher you are, that's, when you're going to get to enlightenment. And I feel
Mm.
like us as, spiritual beings having a human experience, all of us should strive to have enlightenment,
Yeah.
peace, joy.
Oh, man.
So it all is connected.
It all-
Energy is everything,
Wow.
for sure.
Seeing this diagram. First of all, thank you for sharing your screen. I really hope other people who come on here can do this because and not
Mhm.
what I thought about. But seeing the screen, I'm quite surprised that fear is not at the bottom and shame is. That surprised me a little bit. And
Because
just
some fear is good. Like fear,
mm,
a lot of times it comes from you being uncomfortable, and sometimes it takes us being uncomfortable to take us to the next level.
oh, okay. So like what you were
So
talking about early, Jen.
yeah.
This is cool. I really like your insights. I really like the wisdoms that you're sharing with us.
Thank you.
And yeah, because I feel like so many of us are navigating so much shame. And okay. I know this is going to be a wild question because
Mhm.
on one end, I can understand that we develop shame over time,
Correct.
right? From
Mhm.
experiences, from people, from family, from schools, like the way people react or respond to us. Now, I don't know if this is outside of your scope of practice,
Mhm.
but there's also shame that could be developed within the womb.
Mm, absolutely. Because a lot of times when we're in the womb, we take on, and it's, what is it called? Epigenetics. A lot of
Mhm.
time we take on whatever our mother was dealing with at that time too. So that's why it's important for us to have those conversations with our parents, that if we're able to,
Mhm.
because a lot of the stuff that we internalize, it might not even be our stuff.
Wow,
It
that's
might not
crazy.
even be our stuff.
I-
I just heard that on, what audiobook was I listening to? I swear I just heard that. Oh yeah, it was Iyanla Van Zant's Get Over It. I was, yeah, that she said that recently. So yeah.
Man, and so having to experience something from the womb, coming into reality, this
Mhm.
physical plane,
Mhm.
navigating shame, but such a deep sense of shame, exploring it and where it come from, but then also have to realize that if possible, there's some conversation that I will have to have with my mother to talk to see if that was something that she experienced or to gather some information. Okay. See,
Yeah.
that's why community is so important
Mhm. For sure.
because now I'm navigating this world. If I mean now it's letting me know I need to talk to my mom some more because I've been talking
Yeah.
to her a little bit about what the process was like, what I felt like in her womb and what she was going through. And she's been giving me some information, which I love it. Thank you, Miss Janet. Um, so I really love that.
Mhm.
But there are also stuff that they are ashamed to share. And I think that's because maybe we don't have such a community that is so open to people being vulnerable, even our parents being vulnerable.
Yeah.
With
And that's
us.
why they call, that generation the silent generation, because
Wow.
there was so much, especially for those, who experienced the civil rights era. There's so much that I feel like we don't know. And that's why, sometimes I I don't want to say I regret not have, well, of course, like at that time, because my mom is no longer living, like I can't have those conversations, but it's so much like that I want to know, like when it came to her childhood, because a lot of stuff that I know is kind of like surface level.
Gotcha.
But like, it's like you were saying, like is there certain things that I don't know. I know, like my mom had me like close to after her mom passed away. So it's kind of like, okay, like what was she going through at that time? Like when she was
Mhm.
carrying me, and those emotions that came with that, like it's so much like that I don't know, but I
Yeah.
feel like if I did know that, it would just make sense more of why the way I am and why I do
Yeah.
the things that I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much information that is lost
Mhm.
for many reasons, not because not, like for some the loss of a parent, for some being adopted, for some just
Mhm.
like straying and not, some being abducted, and so there's a lot of disconnection that can take place. And
Mhm.
for some, whether their parents want to talk about it or not, because they're like, why are you asking me that?
Yeah. I
First of
mean,
all, just trying to answer the question.
yeah, it's like, yeah, if I feel like the conversations my mom and I would have, just like with just all the stuff that I know now, like
Yeah.
it would be amazing. But
Yeah, I
I
think
just
so.
know, like the work that I've done has definitely helped her in some type of capacity, and I can pass that on, to my child when I have my first child.
Mhm.
So and there's some things that I'm pretty sure I'll find out when it's, my time to transition to that
Mhm.
realm. But I just feel like it's so important, and I stress this with my clients too. Like you have to see your parents as an individual a lot of times in order to figure out why they are the way that they are, because a lot of times they're the way that they are because their parents and what they've experienced from their parents, and some of
Mm.
the things that they've gone through and what they
Mhm.
internalize and the thought processes that they have. Like
Yeah.
all of it is it's connected. And I feel like once people are able to be aware of that, I feel like that's when true healing can truly happen.
Thank
They
thank
start to
you.
understand, like, you know what, they experienced that, like, because all of us still have that inner child.
Yeah.
It's not going to go anywhere, even though we're adults. That inner child part of you, it's still
Oh,
there, and it's always going to be there.
yeah. Thanks for saying that.
Hmm.
I'm a huge advocate, like, for children and parents
Hmm.
growing more connected. So thanks
Yeah,
for adding that part,
for
Jen.
sure. Do you
I'm
still want me
enjoying this
to
conversation.
up, or are we good?
I think we're good.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm telling you, like, and I've shared that chart with my clients sometimes too, and it helped. I've had a client tell me, they printed it out, they put it at their refrigerator so they can check before they start their day, like to see where they are, and then if they're not at that high vibrational frequency, they they figure out, okay, like what can I do, or what do I need in this moment so that I can vibrate higher and be in
Mm.
a better mood. Yeah.
And I'm happy to know that there are people that are in gentle hands.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jen. Thank
Of
you.
course, of course.
So we've been talking a little bit about sound healing and how certain sounds, the body's water, so keep it hydrated. Certain sounds, it works through the body to tap into areas of the body that needs healing or unlocking. You've also mentioned the benefits of herbs and how they can also be helpful in this process. You've talked about low and high vibration and how different energy vibrates on a spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we've covered some of that, I'm curious to ask you, what are some of the instruments that what are some of the instruments you use in your sound therapy sessions, and how do they contribute to the healing process?
Awesome. So I'm gonna pull out some of the ones that are close
Oh, she
to me.
got them
So
at arm's reach.
yes. So the first one I'm going to show. So these are tuning forks. So with tuning forks, and I have different ones. So these tuning forks are more so focused on it doesn't necessarily emit like a certain sound, but it has like a certain frequency. So when you see tuning forks like this that kind of are like this at the top, um, it's more so with placing them on certain points of the body to alleviate like pain, muscle tension, that type of thing. And then there's some tuning forks that are, just strictly sound. I don't know if you can you hear
Yeah.
that? Yeah. So I like to use those, and like for people who are experiencing a lot of pain, I like to use like these type of tuning forks.
Mm.
Um, my Reiki practitioner uses these type of tuning forks a lot. So tuning forks. Um, so I have different two different types of sound bowls. So I have
Calabash bowl?
say that again.
Is that a calabash bowl?
A kala what?
Okay, no, it's not.
So this one is a Himalayan singing bowl.
Mm.
So Himalayan singing bowls, they're also referred to as Tibetan bowls. Um, a lot of times, this is the more popular sound bowl that you are going to usually see. So when I strike it, it makes that beautiful sound. They're tuned to a certain frequency. With these, I like to, especially if somebody's interested in Reiki, I like to just place it on their body, because that also helps with emitting a certain frequency and helping with balancing their, you can call it chi, prana. So that's the energy that flows through you, that connects us to spirit, God, whatever you say. So it helps you to balance that energy that comes from um, whatever source you believe in.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that bowl, and the sound bowl. That's the type of sound that makes. With this sound bowl, the crystal quartz sound bowl, that tone usually lasts a lot longer, and it's called a singing bowl because you can pretty much use it a certain type of way. And that's kind of like, just making it sing.
Mm. Jen, I know you're good because you just made it sound without knocking it. I thought the
Yeah, it's all about the technique.
oh. Check my technique.
Yeah, check my technique. So those are the two different bowls that I have.
Mm.
And then of course I have some chimes. I have two different types of chimes. Watch out, Deacon. So so this doesn't necessarily like emit a certain frequency. Chimes, well, those types don't. But with chimes, it's just kind of something additional that helps with relaxing you.
I can see that.
These chimes, so this is called a Koshi chime. So Koshi chimes, the notes on Koshi chime. So I have one that is the water sounds, and I have one that has more so of, what is this one? The earth sound, different notes. So with this, you just hold it. So a lot of times, some people like to hang this like outside of their house, like as a wind chime. But there's some sound practitioners that like to incorporate like these chimes in their sound healing sessions.
Mm-hmm.
It's another aspect of relaxation, pretty much.
Mm. Jen, you work with energies.
Mhm.
You're a therapist, so you're a sound healer. You do Reiki. You're an energy healer, so energy is always around you all the time. You're
Mhm.
always doing energy work. How do you maintain your own balance throughout all of that? Do you have rituals? Do you have practices that you implement?
For me, um, and I think I mentioned this earlier. So before I go to bed, I go to YouTube and I put on binaural beats. Most of the videos with binaural beats, they are set to a certain frequency. Most of the time, it's like the healing frequency is either going to be 432 hertz or 528 hertz, one of those two. Um, so I listen to that before. Well, it's on all night, but before I'm in a space, I'm like,
Oh,
okay, I'm ready to go to bed. So I put on the ones that are like eight. Most of them are like 8 to 10 hours long, and that plays throughout the
yeah.
day. And sometimes I even forget to turn it off, and my dog is listening to it all day
Oh, so
while
the vibe in your place is exquisite.
yeah. So yeah. So there's that.
Oh.
Um
Hmm.
Also when um I am feeling like, okay, like I need to cleanse my energy myself. So that's when I'll play my bowls. I also utilize like different cleansing practices with myself. So usually Sunday is my day to do that. So I
Mm.
incorporate using sage and Palo Santo to cleanse
Mhm.
my own energy. I also do that like as my ritual before I'm washing my hair, because your hair is kind of like your antennas to the world. So sometimes energy gets stored in our hair.
Wow.
So before I wash my hair, I use sage and Palo Santo to kind of clear my
Cleanse it out.
headspace. Um,
Mm.
I also do Reiki on myself sometimes when I feel like I need it. And that's my way of making sure that I'm balanced myself. I think those are all of the different ways that I can think of.
That sounds pretty cool. So Jen, as we are about to wrap up, is there any final thoughts? Something about sound healing that I didn't ask you about that you think is very important for those who's listening to know or to be familiar with that you'd like to share?
I would say If anything, I feel like it's definitely important for people, especially those who are, in therapy or on some type of healing journey, to definitely learn about the chakra system and chakra healing, just because a lot of times some of the things that are, either blocked or imbalanced in our chakra system, it manifests into other things physically, mentally, and emotionally, as well as spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's definitely important for people to be aware of that. And you can incorporate the sound healing with that. You can incorporate, if you want to find a Reiki practitioner, you can do that. There's definitely a lot of meditations out there, especially on YouTube, that focus on certain chakras. You can also, and some of the things that I like to incorporate with my clients who are interested in it, because there are some people, and when I give my spiel, I make sure that people are aware that I do provide that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not something that I push on people, because not everyone is receptive, and not everyone is ready for that. Because trust me when I tell you, coming from personal experience, when start going through learning about the chakra system and doing your own healing,
Mm-hmm.
it can be very intense, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I feel like once you start that process and you're actually doing the work, it will definitely help with becoming more self-aware, and it will definitely help with um what I want to say, your overall being, and helping with your day-to-day life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think, you can, one of the resources that I like to give my clients who are starting to learn about chakra healing is this book. It's called Chakra Healing: A Beginner's Guide to Self-Healing Techniques That Balance the Chakras. It's by Margarita Alcantara. I guess I might say that right. But this book, it incorporates different meditations, behavioral changes, food, diet, essential oils, yoga, and
Mm-hmm.
crystals that can definitely help with balancing and centering your chakras.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this book is definitely the holy grail, for sure, when it
Mm.
comes to learning about chakra healing. And one of the things that I definitely like, that it includes in the book, it is a chapter specifically catered to like common symptoms and ailments that somebody may be experiencing, and
Mhm.
how it's linked to a certain chakra or more than one chakras that are affected. So like the first one it starts off with is addiction. And the chakras affected with addiction, it says mostly the throat chakra, but all other chakras are affected. And it kind of gives you like a blurb on how that particular ailment is related to a certain chakra, or chakras that are either blocked or imbalanced, and some of the things you need to do to help
Oh,
that. So
oh,
it's yeah, and
that's
it
interesting.
includes anything from, it has anger, eating disorders, back pain, um, cancer, so different types of cancer,
Wow.
patient, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
this book, I'm trying to tell you, it's,
um, so I really appreciate having you here, Jen. I
of
really appreciate
course. Thank
the
you for having me.
Absolutely. I like the vibe. I enjoyed our exchange, or I enjoyed the medicinal experience with you. I really enjoyed just the conversation. I'm mind blown 50% of the time. Um, it's really cool. Um, it's also cool to be able to just have this moment because, like we work together, but I don't think we've gotten a chance to actually sit down and exchange words.
Right.
So it's really cool that I got to learn a little bit more about you and your offerings, and just seeing how intentional and how meaningful it is to you, and also how much, it's just sitting here. One of the things I kind of got lost in was your light. I was having a conversation, I was like, Trudy, why are you staring? Don't stare at that woman like that. There's a moment, don't look too closely. But it's just more of just how you're sharing it, and how easeful you are in the flow of this information was just very nice to hear, because I really admire people who are sharing and offering modalities like this, that's very interested in the healing aspect of humanity. And so
Hmm.
it was that I was just like, man, she is really, let this brown lady do her thing. you know so it's a pleasure to hear some of that. It's a pleasure to get to know you from this aspect, and really enjoying our dialogues together, Jen. Thank you
Yes,
so
for
much.
sure. Hopefully, many more to come.
Hopefully so.
Yeah.
As you dive in and more, definitely still ADHD in me don't want to
Girl,
forget.
I have ADHD too. Don't worry.
So continue doing what you're doing, Jen. I think that there's a lot of places for you to be, and a lot of places for you to go. And I'm so excited for what God, the universe, the divine has
Yeah.
in store for you moving forward.
Oh, I received
Hmm.
it.
Receive
Yeah.
it, receive it, receive it.
Yes.
Gospel artist, receive it, receive it. So, thank you again so much for sharing
Yeah.
about sound healing, and I hope whoever has been listening find this very helpful. And Jen, I don't know if you have any handles or any way that people can follow you that you'd like to share.
Yes. So I do have an Instagram. I'm not on there that much, but if anybody is interested um in just learning more about, what we covered during this podcast, you can definitely reach out if you have any questions. I fingers crossed by the end of the year, I will definitely have, my own business up and running with what I can offer when it comes to sound and energy healing, as well as Reiki. Private practice is coming in the near future, but for right now, my main focus is definitely getting married and getting over that hunch.
Ooh, you see? Hey, get
But
into it.
definitely if you are interested in learning more, you can definitely reach out to me, and I will definitely be delighted in guiding you on your healing journey, whatever that may look like. But
Girl,
my Instagram name
don't.
is ADHD brain. My Instagram name is underscore JENNIF underscore. So it's Jennifer. So short for Jennifer.
Mhm.
So that's how you can find me on Instagram. I do have a Facebook as well, Jennifer Lake on there. But those are the main two. Well, besides TikTok, the main
Mhm.
two that I'm on. Maybe one day I'll get back to posting more. We'll see.
When the
We'll
time is
see.
right, when our
Yeah,
hearts
when the
really
time is
move.
right. Exactly. Exactly. So who knows? That might after this, it may become necessary for me to put myself out there.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's how people
Mhm.
can find me.
Yeah, thanks for answering the call, Jen.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Until next time when we meet again.
Yes, for
All right.
sure. Thank you.
Thank you.